Judging by the abrasions on my leg, the female Earthling apparently dragged my unconscious body into the nearby cave. A well-built fire crackled within, creating enough light to see my immediate surroundings. To my right stood the cave wall, mostly bare except for a few thin red vines that climbed towards the ceiling. To my left, several chunks of overcooked meat rested on a flattened stone. I shimmied closer to grab a piece when a shot zipped past, nearly severing the fingers from my hand.
Don't touch.
The female Earthling stepped out from the shadows and took a seat, making sure to keep the fire between us. She studied me for a moment, then leaned forward.
What do they call you?
I did my best to avoid eye contact as I responded. My name is Dean Kilmer. I am Hero 143 from the planet Terra. The female Earthling leaped over the flames and pressed her pistol against my skull.
Only 3 of us know English out here, and you're not one of them.
I quickly thrust my hands into the air. Wait! I know many Earth languages. I can use another. Mi nombre es Dean Kilmer. The female Earthling's eyes tightened, but I was unsure why. Then a pungent odor tickled my nose. I peeked over her shoulder and spotted a scourge charging through the vines and into the cave. The female Earthling shoved me to the ground, yanked the rifle off her back, turned and fired. The scourge dropped to one knee, gurgled, then slumped over dead.
4 more to go.
She quickly slid her rifle back over her shoulder.
Now where were we? Yes. I was about to turn your brains into soup.
Please, I winced. Do not shoot me. The female Earthling cocked her head to one side and smirked.
Fine.
I exhaled, assuming she'd finally realized I was not a threat, but panic returned as she slipped the glove from her hand. Oh, please, not that. All the stories told of the female Earthling's dreaded death touch, a single touch that brought instant death. Some claimed she was cursed, others that it was a type of poison, but I never once saw it performed. Now, I had an unfortunate front row seat. In a crude attempt to stall her, I blurted out whatever came to mind. My name is Dean Kilmer. I'm a Hero 143 from the planet Terra. We are a peaceful species and learned your language from the television and radio transmissions that we love to watch. And by the way, you are much taller than I expected, and you just happened to be the first Earthling I could find, and even though you are quite hostile, I was hoping to maybe... The Earthling raised her toxic finger to my face.
Stop. Transmissions? From where?
From Earth, we assumed. We have been deciphering them and watching them for quite some time.
Who sends them to you?
We have no idea from where they come. I was hoping you would be able to explain that to me. She lowered her toxic finger.
If I knew, I wouldn't be on this forsaken moon talking to a bald little alien.
Then maybe you can bring me to Earth so I may ask someone who might know.
I'd sooner kill you before letting that happen.
I mean no harm, I pleaded. I promised to check in with the MIB upon arrival.
What?
Scout's honor. I will go straight to the headquarters and register. The female Earthling scooted closer to the fire. Scout's honor, I said again.
Stop saying that.
I only mean to...
Shush.
She straightened up and sniffed the air.
You smell that?
I took a deep breath, but only detected the odor of well-cooked meat on the rock.
Stay put.
The female Earthling stood up and slowly made her way towards the cave entrance. What is it?
The last 4.
The last 4?
Scourge. Now quiet.
She moved with silent speed towards the vine-covered entrance, slid her hands between the vines, and peeked outside. I scooted myself back against the cave wall, in case another scourge decided to rush inside and avenge his fallen comrades. The female Earthling stepped back and knelt down near the scourge she had shot moments earlier. Heavy green steam rose from the recently deceased smelly warrior. The female Earthling swatted the pungent mist aside as she searched the creature's body.
Where are you hiding?
The female Earthling reached underneath the creature's arm, revealing a small round device with green mist swirling around inside.
Make that 5.
I stood up and approached the female Earthling. who quickly grabbed me by the belt and shoved the small device down my pants. I attempted to remove the unknown instrument, but I was stopped by a stern slap to the hand.
Leave it. Can you whistle?
Sort of, but why? She rolled the dead scourge onto its side and pointed towards 2 large, festering wounds.
That thing in your pants is a reanimator. They use it to bring back their dead.
So that scourge was already dead when it came charging in after us?
Yes.
Like a zombie?
Sure. Like a zombie.
Then why put the device down my pants, I asked.
Because it's also a beacon. Now whistle like a scourge.
The female Earthling pushed me through the vines and into the searing desert sun. I tried to shelter my eyes, but the glare off the dunes was too sharp. It appears there's nobody out here, I said, squinting into the distance.
Whistle.
I puckered my lips and blew. At first, all that came out was a little spit, which quickly evaporated. After a few more tries, a high-pitched sound rose from my dry lips, encouraging 5 dark figures to appear from behind a nearby boulder. The female Earthling whispered from behind the vines.
It's working.
A strong odor of rot and sulfur tingled my nose as the scourge drew closer. It was true what they said about the smell of a scourge being worse than death. I wanted to run back into the cave and hide, but the Earthling's glare told me to stay put. The scourge marched fast, and it took all my mental strength to convince my legs not to run off into the dunes and hide. I leaned back as the largest of the scourge lurched over and studied me with its solitary white eye. The smell was overwhelming. With a deep, gurgled voice, the large, smelly creature spoke.
Where is the one they call Death Touch?
I do not know, I lied. I took a quick breath and held it deep, in an attempt to not faint from the horrid smell.
Killer of souls,
The scourge said.
Death Dredger, the one who spews venom.
I suppose they're all the same creature? The putrid warriors glanced at one another, appearing confused by my response.
Take this little creature.
Ordered the largest scourge.
I might get hungry later.
The largest of the group pushed through the ranks, armed with a blood-stained hook, and lunged for me. The hook grazed my arm, leaving a streak of blood across my shoulder. Then the creature aimed the blood hook at my belly and grinned widely.
Don't play with your food.
Another scourge yelled. The female Earthling's voice rang out from inside the cave.
Don't waste your time. He's mostly skin and bones.
The 5 scourge turned towards the cave and readied their weapons. The female Earthling stepped out from behind the vines with pistols aimed.
Didn't think it would be that easy, did you, boys?
All the scourge grinned widely.
Dead or alive, we still get paid.
One of the creatures gurgled.
Much less if dead, I'm sure.
The heavily armored warriors grunted to one another. The female Earthling aimed her pistol. Stuck in the middle, I rolled into a tight ball, pinched my nose, and hoped for the best.
Make sure to bring more reanimators next time.
We plan on it.
The largest scourge responded.
This bounty will make the Scourge invincible.
Said another.
Continuous reanimation for the Scourge!
Pledged another.
The Scourge shall forever be remembered as the ones who defeated...
4 shots rang out. Then, silence. I peeked out from under my arm. All but the largest scourge lay dead. The lone survivor grunted, then lowered his weapon in defeat.
Now, please finish.
The female Earthling said to the creature.
I insist.
Death Touch.
The scourge finished.
Good boy. Now go.
The scourge smiled widely and retreated into the desert. Why'd you let him go?
Always leave one alive to tell the story.
The female Earthling collected all the reanimators from the 4 dead scourge and shoved them into a small bag. But what if he comes back, I asked. She yanked the reanimator from my pants and placed it in the bag with the others.
He won't. They know when to quit.
She pushed her way past the vines and headed back into the cave. Inside, the female Earthling sat down close to the fire and removed a canteen from her side. She took a few sips, then handed the canteen to me. I sat down on the cold ground and raised the canteen above my head.
Don't put your mouth on it.
Doing my best, I poured most of the canteen's contents onto my chin and shirt, barely quenching my thirst. As I wiped the droplets of water from my face, I felt her cold eyes on me.
I've never seen any of you.
I'm a jut sulky.
Strange. You look more human than most creatures.
And with our wigs even more so. Though I am sad to say that I lost mine. I do miss it dearly. All the memories we shared.
You're talking about a wig?
It was my first. Very important to a jut sulky. She shifted her feet, choosing a more relaxed position on the floor. I looked into her light green eyes, realizing they did not, in fact, turn anyone into iron.
Wigs. Interesting.
She grabbed the chunk of meat and tossed it my way, but the charred chunk of flesh bounced off my hand and rolled across the dusty cave floor. Being quite hungry, I wiped the sandy meat on my pants and then consumed it in one bite. Thank you. It's quite tasty, a bit crunchy.
It's scourge meat.
I gagged a little. We ate quietly as both of us studied one another. Sometimes my attention would shift to the cave entrance. A bit nervous, another scourge may charge through the vines. The female Earthling seemed more concerned with me than any uninvited guests. Are there any other Earthlings? One I could speak to? Maybe someone who could help me find my way to Earth?
Nope.
I poured some of the canteen's water into my hand and sipped it from my palm, then handed back the canteen. Nobody at all? She shook her head. How are you so sure? She huffed, then took a sip from her canteen. It was hard to believe. The transmission spoke of billions of Earthlings, many of which spent their lives exploring space. Even a federation of planets to travel boldly through space. The female Earthling surely was hiding something from me. But I was unsure why. Surely you must be mistaken. She stared into the flames. I wanted answers. I was frightened my questions would make her angry. But I chanced one more. Roughly speaking, how many Earthlings are there out here? She wiped her mouth on her sleeve, then stood from the fire.
You're looking at it.
But she dumped the remains of her canteen into the flames and headed out of the cave. Wait! How can that be? I followed her out of the cave and into the desert. Where are you going?
Leaving.
Can I follow you?
And how do you plan on doing that?
With my ship,
That's not an option.
she said. It's a little banged up, but it's kept up so far. She turned to me with her hands cupped around her mouth.
Your ship is gone.
What do you mean, gone? She typed something into her wristband.
I don't have time for this. Either climb aboard or get back in that cave. My thrusters will roast you from here.
And with that, the female Earthling made her way towards her ship. As I pondered her words, the surrounding debris came into focus. My ship was all around me, in burnt and shattered pieces, most likely destroyed during the Scourge battle. All my possessions were gone. Everything I collected during my journey, gone. But the worst of all, I lost the thing that mattered most. Where's my journal? My journal. The female Earthling ship sent tremors through the ground. She was leaving. Frantically, I searched the debris in hopes of finding my journal before she left. Wait, I yelled. Just give me a moment. I dug at the sand, but time was running out. Her engines roared as blasts of heat slammed into my face. I would have to leave my journal behind. I raced towards the ship, jumped over my old bed frame, past the charred remains of my captain's chair, through a pile of half-eaten trap root, then tripped over my lost boot. That was where I found it, half buried and missing several of its pages. My journal! I snatched it up, along with my sand-filled boot, leaped into the closing cargo door of her ship, and pulled myself inside just as the door sealed shut. I, Dean Kilmer, Hero 143 of Planet Terra, was about to go where no Jut Sulky had gone before. Where that was, I had no idea.